And we are recording. So, folks, if you do not want to be recorded, your voice or your image, during tonight's very special broadcast, now would be the time for you to mute your camera, mute your microphone, or disconnect, or whatever your personal privacy preference is. Welcome. We're glad you're here. And I want to continue the work that we did starting last week, when we introduced you to sort of the beginnings of family history. I focused last week on building fast, right? Building as much data as you could build, or not data, as many records and people as we could put into our tree as fast as possible. And that's just my preferred way of working. And then once I've built out a sort of a, I don't know, what do you call it, a test, a sandbox of a tree, then I want to go back in and begin to get more serious about vetting the information that I gathered, to make sure that what I so quickly clicked on, yeah, take that, great hint, do it, add them, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff ends up being not true. It's fake news. It's me accepting the work of sloppy genealogists. Well, yeah, I don't, amateurs like myself who haven't done a lot of due diligence, and it's not right for me to just blindly accept what they put in front of me. I really need to go through and validate. And so that's what we're going to spend time on tonight. I want to spend the first half mostly in Ancestry.com, and then I'll spend the second half by going over to FamilySearch. I don't think we even went into FamilySearch.org last week, and I want to give you a short tutorial about FamilySearch, sort of a quick overview, and then show how to continue the work there. We'll be meeting again next week, same time, same bat channel, and in that particular one, we're going to go into what I call the detective work, solving mysteries. There are several that I have in my family, and I want to show you sort of how I address it, how I go about trying to solve deep mysteries, but we won't spend a lot of time on that tonight. I will make this offer to you, though. If you have a family mystery in your genealogy, one that has stumped you, and you'd like me to potentially address that next week, then reach out to me. Just call me, text me, email me, whatever. And I'll take a look at it. And if I think that I can use it as an instructions technique for next week, then I'll do that on next week's call. Otherwise, I'll just choose some stuff that has been lingering in my own family research. All right. So with that, let's dive right in. And I'm going to go to Ancestry.com. And I told you last week that I might stay in the Grant family, and I might go back to my own family. And ultimately, I decided to go back to my own family. And this is largely because I was able to find one of my relatively close ancestors who I haven't done a lot of, detailed work on, and who has some instructive issues that we can work through as part of this idea of cleaning up the data. I did want to show you this, though. It's a cute little thing here. You may recall the picture we had last week of Robert Hooker, David Grant's grandfather. Well, I went out there and made myself look like a regular old Scot, using this cute little application that they have built into FamilySearch.org, which I will introduce you to later in the session tonight. All right, so the guy that I want to talk to or investigate is my grandfather's brother. And let's just go to my Englehart folder. My grandfather's brother, this is him right here. His name is Carl Englehart. He is actually the twin brother of my grandfather. I never knew my grandfather. My grandfather died before I was born, and so every time I had a chance to meet with Carl, he or someone in my family would remind me that I'm looking at the spitting image of my grandfather. Uh, he was born in 1897, and there's lots of photos. My mother's side of the family, they love taking photos. They never wrote anything down, but they took a lot of photos. This is as opposed to my father's side of the family. They wrote family histories. They were Mormon, they family histories, life stories, all that kind of stuff, but they never took any pictures. So it's a constant battle as I'm doing my genealogy. There's lots of cute pictures of these little twins born in 1897. Here's one. Okay, big deal, little baby twins. But let's see if I can point at another couple here. Some of them are just darling. Not that you care about that, my darling grandfather. Come on. There we go. This is a cute one right here. These two guys here. Well, maybe it's these two. Well, maybe it's the first one and the third one. I don't know. But these are them. 1904 or something like that. Lots of pictures of these twins. Here they are again, sitting with their sisters. And anyway, they grew up. They both went to war. I've got a photo here of my Uncle Carl, the guy we're going to be looking at. Here he is as do we call them doughboys if they were from America? Anyway, here's a picture of him. So that's who we're going to spend some time on. And weirdly, I found that the fastest way to get to him is to click here on tree search and type in his name, Carl John, and it should find it. There he is right there. And here's Carl John Englehart. So I know a lot about him because I've done a lot of work in the tree. The tree over here is all accurate. I feel pretty good about who the kids are and all that kind of stuff. But you'll notice that, okay, I've got a lot of facts here along the side. These are probably taken from things like census reports or censuses that I've already added to his record. Before I look at any of the hints, which is where we're going to spend some of our time here, I want to take you to one of these ideas that I talked about making sure on stuff. And let's take a census document. So just click on View. And with the U.S. Census, almost always there's an image right here. There's the metadata that's in the image, but there's also a lot of information in the image that is not necessarily in this metadata. When I look at this, I can tell this is all accurate, so this is the right guy. But if you click on Image, and I encourage you to do this with every census record that you get, go into the image and learn more about it. So here he's highlighted down here. This isn't a really great image, but let's go in anyway. And let's see, here's, this is where he was growing up. Here's Clara, his mother, Gretchen, his older sister, Carl J., the son. I didn't mean to zoom in there. Gives a little bit of idea of how old he is and whether he's married and that kind of stuff. Oftentimes, the census will also include things like what their job is, and that might be what this is over here. Yeah, this is his job. I can't quite tell what it says. Might say none because of his age. I can't really tell. And in that case, I'll usually go to this, whatever it's called, index, and see if they've got it down here, and they don't. But I always go in here. I was looking in one the other day, and it had a column for way over on the far right of whether they have a disability, and it was written in by the census taker, deaf and dumb, for not only that ancestor but also their sibling. So 2 siblings in this family were deaf and dumb. And I thought that was an interesting fact to collect and to track and to give some more context about that person. Let's just take one more census here, one more image that I want to look at. This is 1930. I don't think, oh, there he is, way down at the bottom. Oh, and it's on a split page, but that's fine. Well, we'll still be able to be fine. So there's Englehart Carl. That probably, does that say head? It should say head. Let me just make sure. Head. He's the head of household. He's 80. No, that's not how old he is. That's the value of his home. um, and interesting, there's something called radio, a column. They cared if you had a radio in 1930. So yes, he had a radio, and some other details here. Born and raised in Wisconsin. His parents are from Wisconsin. And let's see, over here it says hotel is the industry that he's in, and his occupation, can't quite read that, but he was a hotel manager. What does that say there? Maybe this will tell us. Steward. He wasn't 80 years old in 1930, whatever age he was. He was a steward in a hotel. All right. So when you get one of these split records where you know that there's more to the family, but it's the last entry here, then always make sure that you click on this button here. This will show you the next page, or down here you can switch. You can just type in page 40, and it'll take you to the next page. And you would expect to find the rest of the family right up here at the beginning. And indeed, there is Moina, his wife. And thank you, Internet, for making this very difficult to read. But some intrepid indexer went in and determined that that is that person is, there we go. Oh, Madeline A. Now, one thing I want to just mention here on the topic of census. This is one of the key takeaways from today's discussion, and that is the real question is, actually, I had it written down exactly how I wanted to say this. Last week, everything that we gathered last week about David Grant's family is suspect. And should be re-examined. And I'm basically saying don't believe everything you see on Ancestry or on FamilySearch. You need to go in and sort of check for yourself that those facts are accurate. And you need to and the way you do that is by finding a source document that shows the fact that you're trying to validate, such as their name or their birth date or where they were born or any number of facts about the person. Here we're looking at the census. And the question for tonight is the census a dependable source document for facts about a person's life? And the answer is no, it's not. The census is, it can be very flawed. It's an amazing document. Don't get me wrong, but it can be very flawed. Census takers were untrained or very little training. They often were moving quickly through the neighborhood. They would write down whatever they heard for the name without necessarily checking to see if it was right. It was an interview, so they were being told by the people in the house, these are the names of my children, here's when they were born. People's memories are often terrible. Were they born in 1892 or 1891? I don't know, 1891, we'll just say that, because it's not a legal document. So even the census, as good of a source as it is, you shouldn't consider it to be the be-all, end-all. Come to think of it, there's not a lot of be-all, end-all documents if you're really trying to strive for 100% accuracy. A birth certificate, I would say, is very believable. A death certificate is fairly believable. Death certificate, I think more care is put into recording the death of somebody on an official death certificate, although it's hearsay also, because the dead person is gone. They can't answer for themselves. Oh, by the way, their memory might have not been that good either. When were you born? Where were you born? Oh, I was born in Germany. Well, they have been saying they were born in Germany for 50 years because it's easier than saying I was born in the former Czech Republic, which was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire until World War I, when it became part of the German Empire. It's just all too complicated. So they've just come to calling it Germany. So anyway, I've been talking too long about this point. I hope you've gotten it by now. Census is awesome. Always go and read the image itself like we're doing, but don't necessarily take it as 100% gospel truth that what you find in the census is 100% true. All right. Very good. So I want to spend a little bit of time. That was one area of research. I want to take us through some of these hints that have been placed here because this is a veritable landmine or a veritable minefield of fake news that's been put in front of me. And I'm not blaming Ancestry.com. I'm using it to point out that you need to be careful as you do your research to make sure you're talking about the right person. All right, so let's start here with this one. Here's a passenger and crew list, some cruise ship or steamship or something, back in 1960. Says that a guy named Carl J. Englehart, that's the right name, born on the 20th December 1897. Yeah, that's the right birthday. Was on a steamship, so we'll go and we'll review that. Okay, birthplace, that looks about right. Oh, interesting. It wasn't a steamship. It was a airplane that he came into New York on. And it looks like it's the right person. Let's go ahead and see if there's any more detail in there. Oh, no, I want to see that document. So I'm going to click on the image here to see if it has anything more interesting to show me. And, oh, it's some sort of a entry card, passport number. Let's see, what's this? Airline flight number. I don't like the this. Sorry, I shouldn't say I don't like it. This address is interesting to me because I don't remember my great uncle Carl living in New York City. Although, come to think of it, he was in the hotel business and he tended to live where he was employed. I know he lived in a hotel in Cleveland or Cincinnati for many years. So it's possible that indeed he was living at this time in New York City. I didn't remember that, but it's also possible that this is a different Carl J. Englehart. I think it's probably right though, so I'm going to give it a yes. I like the address, the dates are right, the name is right, so we'll go ahead and save that to our tree. Although, did you notice that it put a question in my mind about whether he lived in New York? So I mentioned last week that I like to keep sort of some facts that I'm researching about a person in a file. So one of the questions I just came up with is, did Carl live in New York City in 1960? Question mark. We'll see if maybe that becomes a little bit more apparent to us as we continue today. Also, now that I'm saying it, I might ask my aunt, who is still alive. She might know that and get a little bit, sort of family information there. Okay, there's a picture of him. Yeah, that is him. I like that it's coming from someone besides me. That's good. What about this one? United States Federal Census, Carl Englehart, born 1897 in Michigan. Okay, it should say Milwaukee, right? And it says he's living in Michigan in 1940. Well, he looks like he might have been living in New York City in 1960. Let's take a quick look at this, and we'll see some things. There's some things that I don't like when I look at this record here. Michigan is a problem. Divorced. That's a question mark for me because I don't think my great uncle Carl was ever divorced. I don't have that in any of my records anyway. And the fact that he's living in Michigan and divorced, that he's been naturalized, that implies that he came from a foreign country and was naturalized to be a U.S. citizen. This does not sound like my Carl. And oh, look, let's just look in the record here, in the census record itself. And he's down here. And we zoom in a little bit, and you can see the D here. Yeah, he's divorced. There's the Michigan. And let's see, what does that say? Same. What it says, this is the city. Anyway, He's a naturalized citizen. Anything over here? No further information. This, I don't think, is my Uncle Carl, my great Uncle Carl. So I'm going to put maybe there, but I don't think that that's the same guy. Here's one, Wisconsin birth index for a guy named Cackle J. Englehart, born on the correct date. Looks promising. Let's do a quick review there. And it's probably a transcription error. Whoops. Oh, let me go back. Sorry. There is no image here. So, and this is basically, it's telling me nothing much. So I'm going to say yes, it's probably a transcription error. And I'll save it to my tree. I want to go now and look at this Find a Grave Index. This looks like the right guy, the right date, 6th of July, 1974. Yes, that's when he died. So let's just take a quick look, and guess what? It says he's buried in Forest Home Cemetery in Milwaukee. Those are the right parents. That's the right wife. Actually, that's even the right photo. How do I know this, you ask? Because I have been to that cemetery. I was on a business trip, and I went there with my aunt and looked through 3 different cemeteries in Milwaukee and took pictures of all the family grave sites. And sure enough, there is his gravestone. So that's a good one, meaning I believe this one. And I'm going to go back and say yes. And all of this looks right. Interestingly, my source says he died in Milwaukee. This source doesn't have where he died. Not that Find a Grave is some authoritative source of death locations, but I do find that a little bit interesting. And all of this is just his parents and his wife, and there's nothing new there. So that's good. Now the next hint is the California Death Index. Here he is, yeah. Born in Wisconsin, died the right date. But what is this? First of all, why is it California and not Wisconsin? That doesn't sound like the right guy, does it? So here we have, interestingly, his social security number, which that might come in handy because sometimes, like with military records and social security index records, etc., the social security number is part of the record, and it can help you confirm whether a person is the right person. So let's just jot that down. This is news to me. Stanislaus County, did he die there? I didn't know that. Now, 2 things come to mind. One is I can ask my aunt. I also have a second cousin of mine who is descended from Carl, who I am friends with on Facebook. I might reach out to her and ask her, hey, where did Carl die? I have records that indicate it's Stanislaus County, but did he die in Milwaukee? What do you know? And to help me sort of put the pieces of the puzzle together. Furthermore, there's one other possibility that comes to mind, because I happen to remember that his wife's cousin, Gladys Englehart, his cousin, Gladys Englehart, was living in Stanislaus County in the 70s. And maybe they were out visiting or traveling or something like that. So this one is a maybe in my mind, but I want to keep it in my little bag of tricks here. So I'm going to keep it here. Now, I have to make a decision. If I say save to my tree right now, it will save this source with all this information in it, so I can go retrieve it easily whenever I want to. But the record itself that I'm maintaining in Ancestry, it will continue to say that Carl died in Milwaukee. So I have to make a decision now. Do I want to keep it Milwaukee because this is just one piece of evidence that I need to research? Do I want to switch it to Stanislaus and see if I can prove to myself again at a later time that I'm wrong? Or do I want to zero this out and say, I don't know where he was born or died, so I'm going to leave this blank until it's figured out. And I'm sufficiently intrigued by this one that I'm going to zero it out so that I have to come back to it at a later time and try to solve that mystery. All right. By the way, before we started, just about 30 minutes before we started, I actually emailed my and Facebooked her to see if she knew, but she has not responded yet. So, well, soon enough, you know, my feelers are out, and hopefully we'll get an answer to that. All right, and I think what else? I think that's probably good enough for sort of the idea that I want to make sure that we're talking about. We have these facts. Oh, this is a cool one. Rio de Janeiro immigration card. Interesting. Okay, I've got to go to that one. And oh, interesting. This comes from FamilySearch, which is kind of unusual to have Ancestry getting stuff from FamilySearch. But let's click on it, see if FamilySearch will show it to me. And sure enough, I'm already logged into FamilySearch, so it takes me right in. And there is their son, Hilbert, and apparently he got a tourist card to visit Brazil. Whoops, sorry. Stop it. There we go. Back in the late 50s. That'd be an interesting story to find out more about why he was in Brazil. All right, good enough. Good enough on that. So the idea here is we've been in the hints section for a bit, but last week we spent most of our time in the facts section. We were building these records, and so the basic idea here is you should go through, especially if it's a person of particular interest to you, like your great-great-grandfather or a person that you're really trying to get the facts correct on, someone that maybe you want to do temple work for, then take these facts and go through each one. Click on it in Ancestry, and it'll show you where it documents the birth of this person. It's in this 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930 census, the California. The birth is mentioned in all of those. Now, that doesn't mean that the birth is 20th December 1897 in all of them. That's just the one that I have settled on. So when you've, like we did last week, when you've just built up your tree with a lot of stuff, you're going to want to go in and actually look at each one of these census documents at the image to make sure that it's the right image and that the dates and the names and the family information is accurate. One thing that you'll sometimes find in those census documents, by the way, I don't think I'm going to look for it here because I don't remember it happening, but the census is taken every 10 years. And so sometimes a census document will have the name of a child in the family, and they never appear on any more censuses because they died young. And that may be the only mention of that child anywhere. And it hasn't made its way into the rest of your records. So while you're in looking at census documents, you want to cross-check to make sure that the kids that you're seeing listed in the census image itself match the kids that you have in the family as well. All right, well, time races on. I said we were going to spend half of our time in FamilySearch, so I'm going to do that now. Actually, one last thing. One thing you can do in Ancestry is you can link your Ancestry person to your FamilySearch, to a FamilySearch record as well. Remember, this is Carl John Englehart, my version of Carl's life in my tree. So I want to be careful about how soon I do this, but here, this little button up here is the FamilySearch button. And if I click on it, it goes out and finds the best guess about, is there a similar person in FamilySearch to the Carl John Englehart that we have here in Ancestry.com. And just a quick glance tells me, yes, born on the 20th of December 1897, Milwaukee, died 6th of July 1974 in Milwaukee, whatever. But that is obviously the right person. So I'm going to click on yes to that, and I'm going to connect the person. Now, if FamilySearch doesn't find anybody, maybe that person doesn't exist in FamilySearch yet, then you would click on this one, add to FamilySearch, and it will take it over. It'll push it right on over to FamilySearch. I caution you against doing that too soon, though, until you've vetted the contents, the data, the info here. Last week I mentioned that my father is dead on FamilySearch.org because one of my cousins did exactly that. They were working on an ancestry thing. There's a guy named Lyle Goodwin who died in New York. He died in New York in 1969 or something. No, 1994. Not my dad. Same name though. And they brought that over and into their ancestry. And when they linked the account with FamilySearch, that record went over and became a new record in FamilySearch, completely wrong. And we've had to spend some time cleaning that up. Okay, so there we go. Let's switch over now to FamilySearch. And I want to give a short tour here, and then I'll spend just a couple of minutes in some of the features. So this is a great product, and it has some strengths that go beyond what Ancestry has. Like, for example, I thought this was kind of cool. Find out why people didn't smile in old photos. They have these kinds of little essays occasionally. I read that the other day. It actually points you to an activity that you can go to called Picture My Heritage, which was kind of fun. Just give me 10 seconds to do this. This is where you can take a picture of, people dressed in as your heritage is and add your face to the picture. That's indeed exactly what I did earlier when I made myself look Scottish. There I am right there. I did it to this picture right here. But they also have these group pictures. They're female pictures, but they also have these group pictures. And it's kind of a cute idea. I mean, let me just take one right here. This picture right here. You...
Whoops.
He's gone.
Oh. All right, quick question. Can you hear me, David?
We can now. When you switched over to take the picture, it cut you off.
Yeah, okay. I should have thought about that because I was taking over the camera. Anyway, it takes a cute picture which you can save and share with all your family and get some humor value. All right, so here we are. Let's get back to FamilySearch, the main engine. There's some other cool activities here that I'll leave it to you to spend time in, but it's worth trying sometime. The main FamilySearch menu is the tree. I want to get access to people in the tree. So if you're looking for somebody like Carl Englehart, I go to the tree person. Oh, sorry, I knew that. It's not that. It's find a person. And here's Carl John Englehart. Oh, come on. He's a male, born in 1897. That should get me close enough. And click on match. And sure enough, there's Carl, Moina, his wife. My grandfather or great-grandfather is correct. So this looks like him. I always want to do, though, a quick scan down to see if there are some duplicates, because due to some sloppy genealogy work by people over time, you will occasionally find duplicates, and it's kind of interesting to find those, and then it gives you the chance to merge those duplicates if you feel that you have enough information to do that. But as I look through here, nothing here looks that interesting, like it might be a duplicate. a duplicate, excuse me. So we'll go to, oh, that's our guy right there, Carl John Englehart. We'll click on, he's got one memory. The memory is a photo. Oh, we saw that picture a few minutes ago, didn't we? And look who contributed it. What a good citizen Brad Goodwin is in FamilySearch. But each record has the person, that's what we're looking at here, with the various details about the person, other information, sources, any collaborations, any discussions with people about what the true facts are, memories, like I just showed a photo, or it could be a document or a life story, something like that, and then also the LDS ordinances. Let's see, what else did I want to mention here? Oh yeah, on the right-hand side, here is research help. These are, for lack of a better word, hints, like Ancestry has. So this is basically saying you might want to go look at the California Death Index. Oh yeah, yeah, indeed. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's go look at it. It says Stanislaus County is where he died. I want to review the image. And oh, where do I not have access to the actual image? I don't think I'm going to be able to see it here. So I'm just, actually, I'm not, that isn't what I wanted to show, so I'm not going to do that. But here's, oh, it said no image available. I didn't see that. Oh, here's the Social Security Death Index, though. Let's just do a quick check and see if we got the right Social Security number. Review and attach. Oh, tell me you're not going to not have the Social Security number on this one. Nope. Okay, well, I missed that one too. So anyway, let's not get distracted. These are your hints. Here is additional places you can go to continue your research. We've spent time in Ancestry, but there's also these other sites, Find My Past, My Heritage. And as a LDS church member, you have access to a free account on Find My Past and My Heritage, the same as you do on Ancestry.com. You go to the same FamilySearch partner page. You can just Google the phrase FamilySearch free account on Ancestry, and it'll take you to that page. Or you can look on last week's webinar. It's up on my website, bradgoodwin.me, and you can, I had the URL up there, and you can create an account on these other sites as well. So there's a lot of cross-pollination, and a lot of times it's the same records, and you won't find, you'll find new stuff 2% of the time. But when you really care, it's worth going to look at these other sites. They have a different focus. So I believe Find My Past is UK based, so they tend to have a more complete UK focus, and you're likely to find more UK documents over there. And then also over here is the latest changes. So it's interesting to me that someone named Stephanie Gallagher Jackson, I did look her up. She's my 6th cousin. I don't know her, never seen the name before. But somebody is spending time looking at this record and adding to it. That shows me that it's more than just my work, and I need to be careful about what I do because somebody else cares as well. And then next is a set of tools for editing. Possible duplicates. There aren't any here, but sometimes it will find what might be duplicate people, and you can click on this and it'll show them to you side by side and let you compare. And if you choose to, you can go through a dialogue to merge them into the same person, to move facts that are in one record and not in the other over, and attach it to the right tree and that kind of stuff. One thing that is difficult to do in FamilySearch is to delete a person. It has pretty broad implications to delete somebody from a shared global family tree. I mean, who are you to delete that person? And so it's almost never possible to just delete it. There's a sort of an appeals process where you can request and state your case. I've tried it a couple of times and it never has worked for me. I've never stated my case sufficiently that whoever the FamilySearch people are who control this were willing to do it. Now, Patty, are you still with us? Were you ever able to talk? Are you there? Can we hear you? Can you unmute and see if we can hear you? Okay, Patty, say something.
She's
She's been typing questions, Brad. I don't think her mic's working, but
okay.
she has been typing questions. So if you go into the chat up there, she's maybe answering your question. We see
okay.
number 4.
Oh, I didn't have my chat open. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was going to just point out that Patty served a mission as a FamilySearch specialist, doing like help desk kind of stuff and helping to solve this kind of stuff. And she may have run into this kind of an issue. But because she can't talk, I'm not going to spend more time on it. But it's something that maybe if we can get Patty next week, I'll see if we can get an answer and get that spoken. All right, let's go back to FamilySearch. And the last little thing on the main record here that I want to show are these ability to print a pedigree or a fan chart or a family group sheet, things that you sometimes want to see. Let me just do a fan chart. These are kind of cool looking. And this starts at Carl Englehart and shows what is in FamilySearch.com in a very graphical way, which of Carl's maternal and paternal lines go back how far, and where I might want to spend my time working. For me, it's actually this group here. These are my great-great-grandparents. These are the ones that I'm the most interested in for whatever reason. And however, you start to find out, hey, look, this whole branch here, the Schmidt branch, kind of dies off pretty quickly. And if I want to spend some time and feel like I can do some German research, then this would be a very fruitful area that really hasn't been tapped yet. All right, so just in terms of a tour, that's my tour. Across the top, I'm not going to spend time on this. I'll encourage you to spend some time across these top menus here because there's some ability to search through not just family trees and records like we've been seeing in so far tonight, but also images and other family or printed genealogies and books that are written out there that have been scanned by FamilySearch that might have text or journal entries or whatever about that particular ancestor. The memory section is where you've placed all of your photos and documents that you've uploaded about your ancestors. You can do indexing. If you want to get started in an indexing project, this is where you would go to start and be involved in doing that. I showed you the activities a minute ago. And the temple one, we're going to spend time in this section 2 weeks from today as we finish out our series preparing names to go to the temple. All right, so I only have 10 minutes or so left. I wanted to, as long as we're on Carl Englehart here, let's go into search, and I want to search records. And this is going to allow me to search historical records. As you can see, there's all sorts of fields I can type in, or I can narrow it down to a specific collection. Ancestry has the same basic capabilities. It looks a little different, but the same basic capabilities. Here, let's put John in there as well. Carl John Englehart. And he was born in 1897. And we'll search. So here are, it just went out and found all of the records it could find in its database about a guy named Carl John Englehart, or variations of it. Here's Carl Johann Englehart. Okay, interesting. Well, Johann, of course, is a German for John, but the name here, I mean, the The location looks right. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. The location looks right. The date looks right. The parents, I happen to know, are right. So could it be that his actual middle name is Johann? We're going to want to look into that. In fact, let me toggle back over to here. Is his birth name Carl Johann? Or for that matter, Carl with a K, Johann. I mean, anything would be better than the names that David Grant's ancestors gave to his ancestors, but Carl Johann is a possibility. Does it really matter if his name is Carl Johann or Carl John? I'm not sure it really matters in the temple ordinance sense of the word. I'm not sure it matters to me even in my memory of him, but it does add some color. And if I was going to be writing up a life history about him, that's one fact that I think would be interesting, that his parents may have brought his German heritage into his name, knowing that he would be known as Carl John for the rest of his life. Over here is, it shows that this person is attached to your tree. And here is the record details if you want to go there. So these are like shortcuts. I think I can also just click right here on the name of it. Let's see. So here's another one, Carl Johann. William F. Englehart, Clara Schmidt. Yes, indeed. Looks like the same person. Interesting. I want to click on that. Why is that different? Oh, because I'm looking at a specific document, which is the Wisconsin births and christenings document. So I might want to attach that to his record. Here's another Carl Johann. John Carl. The dates aren't right. Died at a different date, not the right guy. John Carl, father of the bride, Nebraska. Proust, no. Looks like we're getting a little off base here. Michigan, not him. Oh, there's Carl with a K. California, okay. But the names aren't right. Now, listen to me so blithely saying the names aren't right. There have been many occasions in my family history research where I thought to myself, the name's not right. That's not the name of his spouse. And then come to find out, that is the name of his spouse. The person got married or remarried or widowed, or they were a polygamist. And I didn't know that stuff. And the documents begin to, the documentary trail begins to show that that was the case. And, you know, that's kind of an exciting find. Oh my gosh, they were married to additional people. It also is something you want to be careful about believing too quickly, because I mean, it's easy to find someone with the same name and go, oh well, it's you know, where was that? Carl J. Englehart. Well, that's probably our guy. See if I can find one that is. Anyway, a Carl John Englehart, our Minnesota guy, and find out that I thought I agreed too quickly that spouse Laura Proust was another wife. Attached the record, and then there's something not quite right about it. So anyway, I guess my point is just do your due diligence on these to make sure that, like a detective, like that everything is looking proper. Otherwise, write it in your notes. And in your notes, whoops, where's my notes? In your notes, you might also include something like, well, let me just show you an example. If I go to this guy who is not the right guy, oh, I don't want that. I want to go to, well, anyway, I might take, let me try one more time. I'm just not seeing, there we go, there we go. So here, now, anyway, take the URL of that person's record and store it in your notes. Where's my notes? Right there. And say, research this as a possible other wife, and then put that URL right there. It's something I might not want to put in my tree just yet, but I want to continue looking at that when I get some more time later. All right, so that's how searches take place in FamilySearch. And back to the main record here. Where is my main record? Back to, Carl himself. Okay, I want to check my notes and see if there's anything that I left off. Oh, yes. I want to show this this source attached here to the record. Not that one. It's this one. Yes. So look at this. Here, for Carl Englehart, it says he was buried in Modesto, California. And the source is FamilySearch. Well, I know for a fact he's not buried in Modesto, California. He's buried in Milwaukee. I have a photo of his gravesite and family knowledge, you know, that he's buried there. He may have died in Modesto. That's still something that I'm researching, but he's not buried there. So this is a problem. This is an error in the record. And I can see that also reflected here in his vitals. If you go to burial, it says he was buried in Modesto, and that's based on that source that was attached. When it says it was attached by FamilySearch, that means it was attached by the program FamilySearch, like through just a bot or an AI algorithm or something like that. It wasn't a human that did it. Or maybe, anyway, they did a batch process. Well, I want to change that. So my last little thing that we're going to do tonight before I turn it over to questions is I'm going to show you how you challenge something on FamilySearch. I'm going to click Edit here, and the date of the burial. Actually, all I care about, I'm not going to make that change. This is what I'm going to make the change. The place of burial is not Modesto. It is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then I have to say why this reason is correct. And the answer is his grave marker is in Forest Home Cemetery in Milwaukee. And find a grave record has a photo of it. Also, I have personal family is that right? No, knowledge of his burial, and a photo I took of his grave site in Milwaukee. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. Now, before I click on Save, you saw this up here. There's somebody who's watching this record. Someone cares about Carl Englehart. They've set a tag on it that if anything changes, they want to be informed. So they're going to get an email that tells them that Brad Goodwin's been in here monkeying around with their cherished relative. And so I want to, especially when it says that, I want to do a good job of documenting what I'm talking about. Honestly, what I probably should have done here, and I could go back and re-edit it if I want to, is I should go get the, in fact, I'm going to do that. Let's go back to Find a Grave index right here in Ancestry, view it, view the record, pops me out to there. Now I'm going to, oh, I'm not there yet. Pop out to the website. There it is. Now I'm in Find a Grave. I'm going to copy this URL, and I'm going to go in and now paste it into here. Edit. See, and there's the URL. That's just, so it's not just my word for it. there's some more documentary proof. So that is a quick overview of FamilySearch in the context of we're trying to get down to this broad set of facts and narrow it down so that we are as accurate as we possibly can be. And that's the end of my formal presentation. Let me now ask if there are any questions.
I don't have any questions, but you've certainly shared some tricks here where there's going to be a little work on our side for sure, working through the hints. I've normally been a little bit more trusting with some of the hints.
Yeah. Great. And if it makes sense at some point, if you're sitting down doing it and you're like, I want a second set of eyes on this, feel free to chime me in. We can do a screen share, and I'm happy to take a look over your shoulder and give you at least my perspective as you're doing it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so while I'm waiting for anyone else to talk, I'm going to go over to our chat, which I'm now looking at for the first time. Yeah, there is no PPT tonight, so that's why you weren't seeing it. Can see the PowerPoint, nor can I hear Brad. Jerry wasn't able to hear me. Good question. Ask Brad something at the end. Patty said, "They lost me. That must be when I disappeared." Yep, Patty said he could have been on a trip to California. And when it said Modesto, Modesto is where his cousin lived. My aunt, my great aunt. Patty said, turn on my hearing aids because she's saying stuff. Okay. She said, looks like she's out there doing some work for me in Find a Grave. And oh, can I add a memory and share the gravestone picture? Oh, absolutely. Back on inside of FamilySearch, it would be a great idea to add a memory. In fact, let's just take a moment to do that, just to show you how it's done. Upload a photo, and I'm going to export this photo. There might be an easier way to do it, but this is the only way that I've known how to do it. Export it out to my desktop first, and then now that it's on my desktop, I'll look for it. Where is it? Wait, who's that handsome guy? Nice.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, yeah. Is that
Okay.
David? Yeah, absolutely. Wait, where is it?
He's lost the head.
Oh, it's probably right there. Hold on. What's going on here? File. Export one photo. JPEG. Export. Let's give it a name this time. It's not letting me give it a name. Desktop. Export. Seems to be doing it. Why am I not seeing it then? Yeah, look at that. For some reason, maybe if I cancel out and try again. Upload photo. There, now I have access to it. There it is. So I click on that, and it goes through a quick ability to tag it and label it. It doesn't go up on the website for all the world to see right away. It often takes hours or a day or two for that to happen. I have a feeling that they have monitors that are making sure that inappropriate content is not being posted by people in the name of genealogy. So that's why it says unprocessed here. But if I click on it, it will take me to it, and it sort of guides me through what it wants me to do. First of all, it knows that Carl John Englehart is in it because, why does it know that? Oh, because I said when I was in his record, I said I wanted to do a memory of him. Here, I click on the image, and I'll just...
Hey, Brad, you're not sharing your screen this time. You're just talking through it. We're not seeing anything this time.
What?
You've came off present mode, I think.
You're absolutely right. I stopped presenting, didn't I? Oh, thank you for
Good job,
mentioning
though.
that. Yeah, 5 minutes into my demo. You thought it was over. You're like, God, time for dinner, Brad. Stop it. So here's what I'm trying to say is when you get in there, it will say, tag it, and I'm going to tag his name right there and click save. People often forget to do this. I think this is important up here at the title, grave marker of Carl John Englehart, and save that. And Moina is in here as well. So we probably ought to tag her. And how do I do that? Sometimes I struggle with how to add a person. Add event, add a story. There we go. I just clicked on the picture. So type in who's in this one, Moina, and if it's a known record in that you work on that's in the tree, it will find it for you, and you just click on it. Sometimes it doesn't find the person and it exists, or sometimes the person doesn't exist and you type it in there and it creates a record and you get started from there. But anyway, here is how you create a memory, and the memory is done. And now if I go to Carl John and click on memories, there are 2 memories. This unprocessed one doesn't show up until they release it. All right, back to our little chat window. Patty, when you're working on several persons in a family, you can use the watch feature to keep you from putting sticky notes all over your desk. Okay, good. Thank you, Patty. And there's also a thing called Sandbox, a feature called Sandbox in FamilySearch, which I've seen, but I can never figure out how it works. I probably should spend some time looking for it. Normally I see it up here. I'm not seeing it right now. And as long as I'm here, let me also point out that when there are other people in your tree that you have worked on, FamilySearch, when you log in, will show you some of the most recent photos and images that people have uploaded. I didn't upload any of these, and these are people who are in my tree that others have put up there. So it's kind of cool to see what other people are putting up there. I saw this the other day, and this couple here, they're not the most attractive people in the world, but here they are as old people. And can you see it? I mean, a lot of times I can't see, the family the resemblance between 2 people in an old photo and a newer photo. And this one I definitely can. All right, and let's see. When you're working on a person who has several families. Okay, well, I think we're done. I'd like to thank all of you for joining in. Next week, as I said, we're going to be doing some detective work. If you've got a real mystery that you haven't been able to solve, give me a call. Maybe we'll use that as our case study next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brad. Good night, folks. Bye-bye.